So for our next problem, we're going to look at section 16.2, number 4. This is one of the solids of rotations, and I'm given these three different bounds, and I want to rotate it around the axis y equals 6. So let's start by sketching just the region before we actually spin it around anything. Some of these lines are really easy to draw, so let's start with the easy to draw lines. X equals 4. I know what that line looks like. And y equals 3, I know what that line looks like. But this curve is a little bit trickier of a curve, and there are a couple of ways you could approach it. I know that it's an exponential decreasing function that's going to sort of swoop downwards, and I can plot some point values to figure out what my x and y intercepts are going to be. It turns out there isn't an x-intercept in this case. As my x gets bigger and bigger and bigger, I'm going to get closer to 0 but never actually reach 0. So first, let's say when x is exactly equal to 0, my exponent e to the 0 is equal to 1, so it means that we intersect right at this point, which is nice. It saved us a little work. So this is the point 0, 3, which is the intersection point of both curves. And then my curve is going to go down something like this. But then, let's find out this other intersection point while we're at it for really clear labeling of things. We see that this is going to be the point where x equals 4, because that's how we found this line. So when x equals 4, I'm just going to plug that into the curve, and I see that that gives me a y value of 3 times e to the negative 4th, which, if I wanted to, I could plug that into a calculator to find a nice numerical result, or I can just leave it as it is. So what region is it that we're talking about? Are we talking about the region under this curve, or are we talking about the region above this curve? And it's important to keep track of your bounds. So this is one of the boundaries, but my other boundaries are y equals 3 and x equals 4, so those trace out the perimeter of our region, and thus our region is going to be this upper red piece. So we've drawn our region, but we haven't taken care of the fact that we're rotating it around the axis y equals 6. Now the axis y equals 6 is way up here, right? This is, maybe I'll draw this in blue. So this is the line that we're rotating around. And actually, in this picture, I don't have quite enough space to be able to talk about what this shape looks like. There's a little gap here. So this gap is going to be a hollow circle in the center, and this region is going to rotate around like that. Maybe I'll draw this on a separate sheet of paper so it looks a little better, right? So I was hasty, and thus my picture didn't look very good. Maybe I'll pause.